can't believe it. There are people out there that want you to think that we can do something about mass incarceration, just not right now. But you know what Senator Sanders thinks? Senator Sanders believes that it is a disgrace. It is a disgrace that we are locking up hundreds of thousands, millions of people in this country, many of them black and brown Americans, and that's not all right. He wants to end the disgrace that is the mass incarceration of African Americans in this country. That is the kind of leader that we need in America. We need someone who's ready for change. We need people who are ready to stand up and talk about things like ending mandatory minimums. We need people to stand up and say that perhaps we should decriminalize marijuana at the federal level. We need people to stand up and say that we need to re-enfranchise the millions of people who have been locked up and who have now been reintroduced back into the community. We need to restore felons' rights around this country. And that person is Senator Sanders. You know, I know during the summertime, you know, everybody was shouting, yes, Black Lives Matter. We think the senator really believes that Black Lives Matter. He has sat down with Black Lives Matter activists across the country. You know, he has met with folks from Campaign Zero, but it's more than just saying Black Lives Matter. It's about policy. So, yes, Black Lives Matter. That's why we need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Am I right? Yes, Black Lives Matter. That's why we need to invest in jobs and education in this country for our young people. Am I right? Yes, Black Lives Matter. That is why we need universal health care. There are still 29 million Americans in this country that are uninsured. Millions more in this country are underinsured. This is crazy. Just right here in South Carolina. Y'all didn't expand Medicaid. And that's thanks to who? Your Republican governor. But guess what? When Senator Sanders is President Sanders, we're going to do something about that. Am I right? Am I right? So let me ask you again. Are you ready to feel the burn? Are you ready to feel the burn? Y'all had it right. Somebody say, feel the burn. Feel the burn. Feel the burn. Keep it going. Feel the. I'm going to get Bernie. Feel. You can still vote. Somebody say, get to the polls. Somebody say, get to the polls. Because we're going to vote tomorrow. South Carolina is going to show up and show out for Bernie Sanders. Am I right? Am I right? Because we are going to send a message. Tomorrow, South Carolina has the opportunity to send a message. And it's hardworking people just like you all in this room, just like the folks we just left at Claflin University, people we saw in Greenville earlier this week, other folks we saw in Columbia. This is a political revolution. This is a movement, everybody. Are you with me? Because you know the political revolution is about young people and old people, black, white, Latino, Asian American, Native American, gay, straight, men and women coming together to say, enough is enough. What are they coming together to say? Enough is enough. Who's back there? I think somebody's back there. I mean, I don't know if y'all are ready for who I'm about to bring out to the stage. Are you ready? I can't feel it. I don't feel like you're ready. Are you ready? I need you to let me know that you're ready to hear from the rapper, the philanthropist, the activist, my friend and brother, a fellow Bernie supporter, Mr. Killer Mike, everybody!
You can tell who your real friends are when you aren't popular. You can tell who means it when you're not popular. You can tell who's going to hold a sign for you when it don't seem like you're going to win the fight when you're not popular. I like to say last week for a short time I wasn't popular. I didn't do anything egregious. I didn't do anything my health teacher hadn't taught me I couldn't say. But I said something that people used to try to hurt this campaign. And I fully expected to get a call from the senator and say, hey Mike, I thank you for your work. I appreciate you, but this is where our relationship ends. Instead, I woke up a couple days later to a United States senator publicly defending a black man and rapper and appreciating the American public for being intelligent enough to understand what I said. Ever in my life met a politician that met the moral standard that I was taught a politician should meet. When you're a young black kid in the South, and I want to talk specifically to African Americans who are brave enough to be in the room, because I know when you black in the South, it's hard not to toe that Democratic line. I know it's hard when your family members are telling you to vote for Hillary. I know it's very difficult when they tell you we've been Democrats for 50 and 60 years. I know it's very difficult, and I want to thank the white people that stand in solidarity with them tonight. But African Americans in particular, I want to tell you, man, that we've lost a lot of races. We have lost a lot of battles, but we are winning this war. We are winning this war of progressiveness because of African Americans. Because of African Americans like Tunis Campbell and the Geechee and Gullah Islands here in South Carolina, black people have an example for what success looks like. Because of African Americans who fought for the rights of all of us, like Martin Luther King, like Andrew Young, like Ralph David Abernathy, like Hosea Williams, James Orange, and yes, John Lewis. Because of what they taught me, I support Bernie Sanders. I support Bernie Sanders. I support Bernie Sanders because as a teenager, when I met John Lewis told me to be brave in the spite of being unpopular. He told me to be bold when your parents tell you no. He told me that as a 19 and 20-year-old African-American child, he bucked older African-Americans and he say, I will not sit quietly. I will not accept segregation. I will march across that bridge onwardly, boldly. I will do that and they will feel my fire. So I'm saying to African Americans today, if your leader tells you you're wrong, keep walking. I'm telling African Americans today, if your mother tells you you're wrong for casting that vote for Bernie Sanders, walk past her, walk to the polls. I'm here to tell African Americans today, if your preacher dares to stand in a pulpit and tell you to vote for anybody besides Bernie Sanders, I want you to ask him, what would Jesus really do? The Jesus Christ that I learned about in the Bible would feed the poor. The Jesus Christ that I learned about in the Bible would educate the uneducated. The Jesus Christ that I learned about in my Bible, in black church on Sunday, would say you vote for the person who has the moral character to bring us out of the mire we are in. He would vote for Bernard Sanders. So Bernie's been lied on, he's been downtrodden, he's been locked up in Chicago 51 years ago, he's been drug away, and 50 years later, he's been lied on, he's being dragged, but he won't be drug away, because unlike 50 years ago, we're alive and we're awake today, and we're going to make sure the rest of this nation feels the damn burn. Thank you. Introducing the next president of these United States, Bernard Sanders.
Revolution. Then you have come to the right place. Because that's what we are about. I want to thank Killer Mike, not only for being here tonight, but for the great work, and not only for his artistic capabilities, but also for the fact that he is talking to young people all over this country, white kids, black kids, Latino kids, and explaining to them the importance of them getting involved in the political process. Killer Mike, thanks so much. Okay, I'm running for president because it is just too late for establishment politics and establishment economics. This country faces some very, very serious problems. And the people who are going to solve those problems are not people who are taking huge amounts of money from Wall Street, from the pharmaceutical industry, or the fossil fuel industry. We have today a corrupt campaign finance system where billionaires are buying elections. All of you in South Carolina, which like my state of Vermont has a very rich history in military affairs, so many people have served in the armed forces. People fought and died to preserve democracy, not to have billionaires buying elections. So together we have a word to say to Wall Street and the Koch brothers and all these powerful special interests. We are going to overturn Citizens United. We believe that democracy is one person, one vote. And we also have a message to those governors and those legislatures who are working overtime trying to suppress the vote. And that message is, we are going to stop you too. democracy is about. You disagree with me, that's fine. That's what democracy is about. But when you have governors who are working hard to make it difficult or impossible for people to participate in the political process because they may vote against them, that is political cowardice. And I say to those governors, if you are not prepared to run in a fair and free election, get another job, get out of politics. What this campaign is about is not only talking about a corrupt campaign finance system, it's talking about a rigged economy. Now, in South Carolina, in Vermont, all over this country, we're seeing something very strange going on. We're seeing people working not just one job, working 2 jobs, they're working 3 jobs, and yet, despite the fact that mom's working, dad's working, the kids are working, turns out that 58% of all new income created today is going to the top 1%. Turns out that the top 1/10 of 1% today now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That is not an economy that is sustainable or moral or American. That's a rigged economy, and together what we're going to do is something pretty radical. You know what we're going to do? We're going to create an economy that works for working families, not just the top 1%. And this is how we are going to do it. We are going to raise the minimum wage in this country to a living wage. The $7, I just talked to a woman today. She works at Domino's, I think. She said she works for $7.25 an hour. $7.25 an hour is not a living wage, it is a starvation wage. And what we intend to do together is to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour over the next few years. In America, people who work 40 or 50 hours a week should not be living in poverty. And I know that all of the men in this room are going to stand with the women and fight for pay equity for women workers. Women should not be forced to work for 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. That's sexism, that's wrong. Together we're going to change it. When you read the front pages of the paper once a month, they tell you what the official unemployment rate is, and what they say is it's 5%. Anyone believe that? No. You're right, it's not. Because there's another government report that says if you include those people who have given up looking for work, those people are working part-time, real unemployment is close to 10%. And youth unemployment for high school graduates is off the charts. For white kids between 17 and 20 who graduated high school, 33% unemployed. Latino kids, 36%. African American kids, 51%. You're right, that is an absolute disgrace. And if anybody here thinks that those numbers, that outrageously high level of youth unemployment is not connected to another tragedy, and that is we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. We have 2.2 million people in jail. We spend $80 billion a year locking up people in America. You guys ready for a radical idea? Here is the radical idea. We are going to invest for our young people in education and jobs, not jails or incarceration. And not only are we going to do a much better job in keeping kids out of jail, because they're going to be working or they're going to be in school, we are also going to make certain that this country reforms a broken criminal justice system and that we end institutional racism in the United States. Now, I was the mayor, largest city in the state of Vermont for 8 years. I worked hard with police officers. Vast majority of police officers are honest, hard-working people. But when a police officer breaks the law, like any other public official, that police officer must be held accountable. We must move toward the direction where we understand that lethal force is the last resort, not the first resort. We have got to demilitarize local police departments so they don't look like occupying armies. We have got to make police departments look like the diversity of the communities they serve. In my state of Vermont, many parts of this country, we have a very serious problem with opiate addiction, with heroin addiction. And what we have got to understand is that substance addiction is not a crime, it is a health issue which has got to be treated as a health issue. We have got to do away with minimal sentencing because people are sentenced for too long terms in jail. And I'll tell you something else that we've got to do. Some of you will agree with me, some of you may not. But I think we have to rethink in a fundamental way the so-called war on drugs. What I learned a few months ago, and I didn't know this to be honest with you, but millions of people over the last 20, 30 years now have criminal records for possession of marijuana. What happens when